Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Yes, we're doing this again. I've decided to put myself through yet another one of Neil Breen's films, as apparently one just wasn't enough last time. Without further ado, on with the review.
Polos is life, 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 sleep all night and then Polos is life.
Around this time last year, I reviewed another one of Neil Breen's films, I Am Here Now, from 2009. It was exactly as I'd expected it to be, weirdly entertaining and laughable rubbish. While I still think that my commentary was decent, I'm not too pleased with the production value of my video, although I have linked it in the description if any of you want to check it out anyway. Because of my dissatisfaction with my previous video, I decided to give reviewing a Neil Breen film another whack. Wish me luck everyone. The film opens with some Universal logo rip-off shot, and we are then introduced to our two main characters, twin brothers named Cade and Cale. Real imaginative twin names, I know. These two will eventually be played by Neil Breen, but for now are represented by stock footage of twin boys at varying stages of childhood. I found this clip particularly funny.
We loved going to the beach with our dog.
As it's so obvious that Neil Breen just wrote this line to fit the stock footage. Long story short, Cade and Cale get abducted by a stock footage tractor beam and have their DNA and cells reprogrammed.
Our family. As time went on, we were subjected to reprogramming of our DNA and cells, making us more humanoid with superior powers.
Excuse me, what?
What does this mean? The definition of humanoid is to resemble a human being. Were they not human to begin with? I've heard better put technobabble in Star Trek. He then mentions AI technology for some reason. Long story short, these two boys are basically agents for an unnamed superior being, and were given magical powers to help stop the forces of evil on Earth, but Cale doesn't succeed with his mission, so the superior being removes his powers and lets him go. This next scene of the two brothers, both played by Neil Breen, being separated left me completely flabbergasted.
Although we were now humanoids, I still felt a bond and love for him as my brother.
We get so much exposition from Breen here, Cade, as he explains that he has taken full advantage of Earth's advances in AI technology, all while Breen has poorly edited himself into reels of more stock footage. We're less than 10 minutes in. I wasn't psychologically prepared for this rubbish, man. I guess I spoke too soon. So, Cade storms a building that is being attacked and stuff, and tries to help the soldiers with his powers. The editing here is so bad, but I think it's actually a very slight improvement compared to some of his earlier work. Cade goes to visit his boss, who sets him another mission after he refuses to take a break from work. Something to do with VR. And then Cade thinks about how much he misses his brother. The secret intelligence agency that Cade works for have a meeting, and the acting from these extras, because that's basically what they are in these films, is just as flat as you'd expect from a Neil Breen film.
This is very serious.
Homeland Security is ready.
We are on the verge of mind hacking.
I just hope that these guys got paid enough. It's then revealed through more exposition that one of Cade's abilities is him having access to instant personal facial recognition data, before he flexes about how cool he is. He says that it's to help him stop evil, but this is really creepy and a total violation of the population's privacy.
I'm getting the word nonce.
I guess he's more of a cyborg type hero, and I use that term loosely, compared to a traditional genetically altered superhero. Cade then bumps into this woman, and it's the weirdest interaction ever.
Take you out to dinner.
Leave me alone. I have a boyfriend.
Let's have
Get
it.
out of my
Let's
face.
have a
Leave me
drink.
alone.
Let's have a drink.
Leave me alone.
Let's have
I
a
have
drink.
a boyfriend.
I'll meet
Get
you
out of my
back here at
face.
8 o'clock,
Get out
and
of my
we'll go out and have a drink.
He actually goes to meet her at 8 o'clock too. Look man, you may have powers and she was kinda rude, but you gotta take no for an answer. Who are you, Titan from Megamind? He actually follows her home and there is a struggle and a lot of the lines are weirdly dubbed.
You were supposed to meet me at 8. Bitch. You can't fight me.
I don't like where this is going.
It turns out, however, that this is all just some weird role-playing thing that they do, and they're actually a couple. But she smashed that painting over his head and everything.
What? What the fuck?
The other brother, Kale, then holds some businessmen hostage, and it's very heavily implied that he has tortured them off-screen. Apparently they have committed some very cliched injustices, such as assassinating CEOs and paying off politicians, and Kale says what he's doing is simply his form of justice. It's then suggested that he's done this many times before through a fade-in shot of more copy and pasted bodies. Right, a vigilante. I see. Cade and Kale then meet in an alleyway to argue about not making contact earlier, and the way you know they're different is Kale has a beard and horribly obvious moustache. The way they talk is so janky because Breen obviously didn't know where to look while filming the different bits of character dialogue, so they don't look directly at each other even when they're supposed to be right in front of each other. Surely he could have made a marker on the floor or wall off camera so he'd know where to look. There are also these weird pauses in dialogue which could have just been fixed through smarter editing. The authorities investigate the assumed murders of the 3 businessmen from earlier, and Kale goes home to argue and physically fight with his girlfriend as both of them are addicts, complete with cartoon sound effects.
I don't even want you anymore! All I want is the drugs and the money! Oh my god.
Oh Lord.
We are then introduced to a very, very obvious rich boy villain, Lex Luthor type character, called Kuz, spelled C-U-Z-Z-X, cause his parents were hippies or something. He also has an extremely weird and obviously modified voice, like some Freddy Krueger thing going on.
It's swarm intelligence, the ability to communicate telepathically.
Apparently he wants to take over Earth through biochemically controlling the human life support systems.
A feat not really hard to accomplish through today's technology.
Hey, now don't start that again!
Cade goes to infiltrate Kuz's operations through posing as a potential investor in Kuz's projects. Now, hang on. Why is some bawdy version of Tinkerbell in this movie? It doesn't ever end, does it? It just gets weirder and weirder. Cade and Kale meet up and argue more because of Kale losing control, and the editing here isn't any better than before. Cade storms Kuz's headquarters to stop the antagonist's imminent, planned cyber war. After trying to confront Kuz, he disappears in a bad fade-in effect. Cade succeeds in destroying the mainframe or something anyway, through some badly edited in explosions, and Kuz flees. We have half an hour left to go though, sadly. So some time has passed, and Kale and his girlfriend have broken up, but when she sees Cade, she mistakes him for Kale. Cade explains that he's his twin brother, and gives the woman some money to find a nice place to live. Unfortunately, Cade's girlfriend is watching from a distance, and assumes the worst. Cade blows up another one of Kuz's buildings, and we get a look inside of Kuz's home, where one of Neil Breen's other films are playing? Maybe try a public domain feature next time, huh? It's then revealed that Cade's girlfriend was actually working for Kuz the whole time, and she pulls a gun on him when he goes home. He shoots her and she dies, and his boss just cleans up the mess for him, I guess? They still love each other though, and in the weird realm from earlier, Cade is visited by his girlfriend's AI consciousness. Like this is Black Mirror. She tells him she loves him and the movie ends with more of Neil Breen's spiel.
I have much more important things to do to save humanity. We will live in a virtual metaverse, a virtual universe.
Before the credits roll, we get a text card which reads, Cade Altair will return. Thanks for that, Neil. He really is the hero we need but don't deserve. The movie is mostly exactly what I expected. We get the usual Neil Breen crap. The love interests are clearly much younger than him, one of them abuses pills, etc. There's still the issue of the stock footage, the talking down to the audience while being vague, but it's less noticeable than in something like I Am Here Now. The main issue for me was the editing and pacing make it so hard to follow what's going on, and this is so important in a story with two focal characters. I'll at least say that he's been trying to be more creative with editing the footage he uses. Cade keeps repeating the lines, I don't need a weapon, I am the weapon, signifying that Cade thinks highly of his abilities, and I thought that Breen was going to go somewhere with this. I assumed that the story would end with Cade finding out that he actually needs his brother, who has such a poor quality of life compared to him, and that they would be reunited properly with this. But no, I was expecting too much from this movie, and it really is just Cade bragging to the audience about how cool he is. The premise is very overdone. The twins separated early in life that end up with polar opposite adult lifestyles and bump into each other, although I will admit that the sci-fi flair was slightly more original. Well, that's all for this video. Be sure to follow me on social media as they are all linked in the description box below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, thanks for watching.
Nothing like a polo to ease my mind. With polos by my side, I'll always shine. The blue and green ones are my favorite kind, but I'll eat the colored ones from time to time. Cause polos is life, 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 polos is life. Sleep all night.